Good afternoon, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of CommonSenseHD.com, the website that's a TV show, the TV show that's a website. Don't forget CommonSenseHD.com, the website, and also CommonSenseHD #1 YouTube or CommonSenseHD YouTube. And then I'd like to introduce to you today 3 guests. This is unusual for me to have so many, but it's a wonderful opportunity, I think, for us to learn a little history about ourselves, and also to learn how we can learn some history about ourselves. Today I have Joyce, Irving, and Leona. And they are with the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell me a little bit about it, Joyce?
What I will do is to ask Irving to speak about that because he is one of the original members. I am also with my husband, and but the history, I think Irving could tell a little bit more about that. Okay?
Well, we're one of 25 different chapters of the national organization known as the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society, Incorporated. And we are the New England chapter. We have members, at most, I guess, of 4 of the 6 New England chapters. And we've been motivated to help one another discover our family roots, doing research in public libraries and national archives and in historical societies and in also other resources around the country. We began to develop more knowledge about our individual roots, where our families came from. Some of our families came from the southern states, the mid-south of Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Other members have roots in Mississippi, Louisiana, or Alabama. And some of us have roots from the Caribbean, so that we have a multi-racial mix of people of Afro-American descent, African-American descent. And this organization that we are a chapter of, we've been in existence 15 years now. And we were originally formed here in Massachusetts by a group of about 20 people who met in a living room, I guess Margaret Henderson's living room, and decided that they wanted to form a chapter of this national organization. So that's what we're about. We're about helping one another with giving one another genealogical tips as to how to perform this research, gathering information about their family trees, or we have information that we share in the form of a quarterly newsletter. We have monthly lectures. These lectures are held predominantly at the Free Public Library in Bedford, Massachusetts, the next town from Burlington.
And so
on the 3rd Saturday of each of the 10 months, excluding the summer months.
And so do you folks work together as a group
Yes, we do.
to research each other's, in a sense, history?
Yes, we do on a kind of a small scale, but what we do is we have our members talk to us as speakers once a month. We'll have somebody and they'll talk about what they've done with their family, how far they'll be able to go back, and just to kind of reiterate what Irving had said is that we branch out and find that we are kind of we're all over the place.
Right.
Okay? Now, Leona a lot of her people have come from Canada, up in Nova Scotia area. So it just kind of depends on, you know, where you're looking.
Right.
And the more you look, it's almost like a puzzle that you put together. And sometimes you're researching something and you're not sure where that goes. And maybe 6 months, 2 years down, all of a sudden a light goes off and you say, oh, that's where that goes. And you just end up putting that in there, you know.
So, how does the group dynamic work in the sense of, you've explained about finding the missing pieces. Has anybody found that they belong to somebody really special besides themselves?
Yep, sure.
Is Irving a king?
No.
No, we have a few people that have found out that they are related to some of the dignitaries that are out there, and we also have found by going to conferences that aren't necessarily here. We hosted one about 6 years ago, I guess about 6 years ago, where we hosted the conference for what we call AAHGS, we shorten it, and since then they have been all over the country. My husband and I attended one 2 years ago down in Greensboro, North Carolina. We just had one in Alabama, I think, and and you get a chance to meet other people that might be relatives of yours.
No, that's really interesting.
Which might happen to be you.
So how do you feel that your group, the society, plays a role in the truth in history?
Well, that's the thing. Trying to make sure that the information that we get from the archives, okay, is real. And it's not something that was given to somebody and might not be the truth. Okay, so we try to check friends, relatives, people that lived on a certain street when you did the census to find out what they knew, if they're still in existence, or their ancestors that have passed information down to them. You know?
Yeah, because I was looking up census data one time for a research project I had to work on. I was really surprised by how far back it went.
Yes.
I was amazed. And then how the census information has changed. What they collected when they first started the census and what they collect now are, you know, two different things
completely
altogether.
different. Yeah, completely different.
So what ways have your group influenced the history of this environment, this area? Because I'm sure it has. Especially related to African American Black history, there was none 40 years ago. Nobody did anything.
It was there.
You know, we didn't have a president or anything.
But
you know,
it was there, but we just didn't know how to access it, or we weren't aware that it was at our beck and call. Now we just took a trip up to the western part of the state. And there is so much history up there that we were not aware of, that nobody is aware of.
Wow.
That we are going to try to do another
what
trip
kind
again.
of history are
Well, I
you?
can give an example. What we discovered there in western New England, western Massachusetts, was that some of our ancestors had been slaves in Massachusetts. And curiously enough, after the Revolutionary War, the American colonies, the United States, many of them did not continue the institution of slavery that had been codified under the British reign. So that the status of individuals who were slaves at the time, after the Revolutionary War, was in question. So what had to happen was individual slaves had to sue for their freedom in order to get the state legislature and the courts to determine if slavery was going to continue within the United States or not. And Mom Bet was one of the slaves in that part of the region. Also, I found that I have a fourth great-grand uncle who was named Quark Walker, Quoque R.K. Walker, and he sued his slave master for his freedom. A freedom that he had been promised by a previous slave master, and when that previous slave master passed away, his wife, the wife of the slave master, married the new slave master, and the new slave master refused to live up to the promise that was made by the first one to grant the slave freedom after 25 years.
Wow.
So he went up to court and sued, and he won in court.
Wow. I mean, there's so many different things in court these days. That's not one of the things that you would ever think had
Right.
breached the steps. So how do you portray the histories of your families? What methods or techniques do you use to...
Everybody has a different way of telling their family story. You see, the Joyces told her family story through a quilt. Some people have told, some of our members have told their family story through a book. Some of us just present our research as such. And Joyce gave an indication that some of my family came from Canada, specifically Nova Scotia. But these folks that were in Nova Scotia were in the colonies early on. And I can go back to 1783 to a great-grandfather that went up through as a black, what did they call them, black loyalists. And they went up when the British were losing the war. They encouraged some slaves to fight on their side, and then they were promised freedom. And some of them went up to New York and got on a boat and went up to Canada. And so there's a whole group of people up there that still have descendants down here. So we try to put our stories together as best we can. We try to help people put their stories together, and that's the benefit of becoming involved with our organization. But what we've done, Joyce is doing outreach for our organization, and as a result, we go out and we try to tell or help people to think about how they'll put their story together. And so we did this a couple of years ago, and let me see if I can't relate some of it to you to give you an idea of how to put your story together, because there's so much more to do. I mean, this is just the beginning, because once you start working in your own family, then you can go beyond into the libraries and the archives and everything like that. And try to do this briefly, but you know, I don't know how many people talk to the grandchildren or other relatives. I know in my family their stories came, and maybe some of them may have been hard to believe, but they've been borne out by some of the research that I've done. And so, you know, when the kids come and ask you questions about family, what do you tell them? You know, years ago, nobody told anybody anything.
Right.
You know, kids are supposed to be quiet and not heard, or they may not say anything, or they may not talk about it. So there have always been secrets in families. But the important thing is to open up to your family members and try to get certain information from them. And I'm doing this pretty fast because we got a whole list of things to do.
Fine.
But the idea is to collect information from your family members that are closest to you and document them, write them down, and then start with who you are with right at the moment, your grandparents if you're lucky enough to have them, your aunts and your uncles, and write down the information. You even want to record your health information, because this may help you later on. And once you've got this information together, you find a place to put it and keep it. And all the documents that you have from the information that you find out from your families, you keep it in one place. And if you're lucky enough to have photographs from people, from your family members, document who is in this photograph, the date that was taken, And then put it in a special place. If you can put it in an album, fine. But keep all your genealogy information in one place. And this you want to do for your family to come behind you.